Hello, welcome to BERNAMA Today. You're with me, Leonard Bly, as well as Jessie Chahal. It's a terrific Wednesday. Thanks for staying with us on BNZ, where it's all about you.
That's right. So much about you that we've got all the headlines of the local dailies right here, and we want to know what is really, making waves and what people want to know, what people are talking about. And this is our first headline that we want to share with you, something quite drastic.
That's right. But before we go into that, if you're on the move, you can still catch us on BERNAMA.com, Unify 631, as well as on MyTV. It's 121. But here are the headlines that are, sort of like capturing all our attention. On the New Straits Times, we're talking about drastic measures to stop graft. If you're wondering how they're going to tackle that, they're looking at a few methods. One of the proposed solutions was a cashless sort of transactions.
That's right.
And the other one was changing the currency. So this was what was being discussed on several newspapers. It was on the NST as well as on the front page of Berita Harian as well on the Malay papers.
Absolutely. So that creating headlines. Also looking at what is being sort of speculated or going around viral. 26 ministers to be sworn in, 24 deputies.
We've been waiting for this for quite some time, and of course I think there was that sort of like back and forthing between the speculation of why the delay, and people were talking a lot about it, and hence
people came up with their own list.
Yes,
I like that.
There has been a list going around since the elections,
Yeah.
And I think it's been changing back and forth. But here are the 26 ministers that have been speculated to be taking up posts as well as their deputies. It has been announced that they will be sworn in on 2nd of July. This was by Prime Minister after the Agong has given his consent.
Approval, that's consent, that's right. So that's on the Berita Harian newspapers as well, making headlines. Of course, here in Utusan, Malaysia, we see that big goal, I think, that happened yesterday on that match.
But you can
World
see
Cup.
Cristiano Ronaldo also is holding his head. A gagal jaring penalty. This was penjaga goal Ali Reza managed to sort of like defend the goal from Ronaldo's penalty. So there you go, a disappointed Ronaldo here.
And just next to it, a very interesting and I think pertinent discussion that we need to have. The Prime Minister Tun Mahathir has come out to say, elak undang konflik antara kaum Melayu terus akan dibantu. So let's stop playing that racial cards. Let's stop feeling insecure. That's an all argument of the all administration. Let's not let that particular issue become a hindrance, an obstacle towards moving forward to a better Malaysia.
I think what we're talking about is let's actually embrace the maturity of being a one Malaysia, a Malaysia Baru, as opposed to constantly just still throwing the race card here and there.
Nitpicking on these things.
No, I mean let's talk about that announcement in Mandarin by Lim Guan Eng.
Absolutely.
I think that is uncalled for.
Taken out, blown out of proportion by certain segments or ex parties, let's put it that way. It is an announcement that came out equally in English, in Bahasa Malaysia, as well as in Mandarin.
At the end of the day, I think Tun M has already put this in the right perspective. He says it's a small issue. Let's not blow it out of proportion.
Yeah,
he made a mistake of just putting that on his private account, on his Facebook account, and I think he has learned from that. So if he were to make any statements, it will be on all three languages, even on his private social media account.
And you know what?
Not on official platforms.
Yes, and to rest my case, the Federal Constitution protects all of us, all segments. It does say that we have that chance and opportunity if we need to be treated fair and with justice that does prevail in this country. We will be heard, and there will be no space for any kind of biasness, so to say. So let's not even get.
If I may
just say our knickers in a twist. I don't know if I could say that on TV, but yes, I just said it.
But if I may be so bold as to say that I am a little bit disappointed that UMNO is still a race-based party, and race-based is still going to be part of politics.
Fair enough, but I think we're coming away from that, like you said. Mature enough, it's about time after 60 years we wake up.
Yeah, no, that's why I say, like, in light of the Malaysia Baru of May 9th election, the idea is to be able to grow, to be able to sort of like look beyond just race politics. Let's talk about issues, and even though you represent a race, it should be about issues, not about protecting a certain group or people.
That's right. Let's move ahead as a whole.
Yes.
Rather than, trying to break us down.
Or we're not going to be far off from wherever we see about the Muslim travel ban in the US and how your families will be starting to, disintegrate as well. Because how do you tell Malaysians anymore? Nowadays, it's mixed marriages. Who is Malay, who's Chinese, who's Indian? It doesn't really matter.
We are one race after all. That's right. Okay, so while we embrace all that similarities and differences, let's look at, again, some of the headlines or the updates that we shared earlier on in the hour.
And of course, we're talking about World Cup. Argentina actually moving on. They actually beat... Who did they beat? Nigeria, 2-1.
That's right. Nigeria, Argentina, big match. Argentina won 2-1 to Nigeria. This, of course, puts, sort of some pressure on Argentina. They won the World Cup back in 1978.
They will be facing off France in the round of 16.
Like this guy.
And the last time France faced Argentina was in 1978, and of course it's going to be a big game. And next, we're talking about Tabung Harapan. It has surpassed the 126 million mark. If you want to contribute, you still can do so. There's, of course, that Maybank account that you're able to, send your contributions to.
That's right. So Tabung Harapan here, snowballing day by day. 126 million and more counting. This was as of 3 p.m. yesterday, right?
Yes, and a quick reminder, of course, that the money should be used for its purpose, which is to pay off the national debt. I think there should not be any speculation about using it for any other reasons.
That's right. So what do we have up next? We have a couple of international stories here. Let's look at the famous Barry Gibb.
Barry Gibb.
What's happening with Barry Gibb? From the Bee Gees, he has received a knighthood at Buckingham Palace and says he hopes his late brothers Robin and Maurice are proud of him.
That's right. So Gibb is the last surviving member of the fraternal trio whose, of course, falsetto harmonies and disco beats powered the 1970s hits, including How Deep Is Your Love? And of course,
Night Fever. Different kind of night fever.
Staying Alive. Oh my God, I tell you, even though it's they're songs of the 70s, it's still so much alive today.
It is very much. Now, after being knighted at the palace by Prince Charles just yesterday, the 71-year-old songwriter said without his brothers, he wouldn't be here today. Gibb, who can now call himself Sir Barry, said the honour was a bit surreal.
That's right. And he said this is the greatest honour that your culture can give you, so he feels very proud. And here you can see visuals of him. He still looks...
I was going to say...
fit, isn't it?
He looks young.
Yeah, he still looks healthy.
And he still looks like he could still spin out a few good tunes for us there. It must feel a bit lonely though, having this particular moment and not having his pillars, his brothers next to him to feel whole and complete. But I think he might also feel like this could be a sort of a tribute to them, to honor them as well.
I wanted to just say that he looked fit and he looked healthy, but I think the benchmark has changed since Tunam took office as Prime Minister at 92. 71 is like the new 40. You should be like still raring to go and life is still full. If at 92 you can still be the head of a government.
He has set the precedence in this country. If anybody feels lazy or you feel like you can't do something, or you say if you ever use age as an excuse, it goes out the window. Because our Prime Minister, he is rocking it literally. Okay, so we move on to our next story now. A Spanish police dog performs CPR on a trainer.
Wow.
I've said this many times, animals are part of us, they are part of our community, and they can do amazing stuff because they're brilliant animals. And here we have a perfect example
We
of
have
that.
to take a look at how this is. He, of course, is mock falling down and creating a sort of an emergency scenario. You see him, jumping and trying to give CPR to his sort of...
It's adorable. He's still a puppy there. He's very, very young.
And he's trying to hear the pulse. You can hear that he went to the neck, hearing the pulse. Did I get any pulse? No, not yet. He is Poncho, a Madrid police dog. He has become an internet sensation, of course, after a video, as you're watching right now, shows him apparently performing CPR, or of course cardiopulmonary resuscitation, on his handler that went viral.
That's right. As with everything on social media, it does go viral. And he took part in this awareness event, and this video has had more than 2 million views. That's like Gangnam Style level, isn't it? That song, yeah.
No, Gangnam Style is just on another stratosphere. But the 8-year-old Cocker Spaniel doesn't doesn't actually perform CPR in real life, police said. His performance was just a fun way to explain to children how first aid can save lives.
That's right. So normally you're either a dog person or a cat person. Some are animal people like me. But if you're not a dog person, even if you are a cat person, we've got a story on a cat as well.
There you go. Achilles the cat, who has become famous for his prediction of World Cup. I tell you, World
I
Cup.
thought we had Paul the octopus, wasn't it?
Paul Octopus was many years ago. And the other day it was a sausage dog. And now it's Achilles the cat. World Cup has produced quite famous animal predictors in the process.
Wonderful. So this cat, milk, is that milk?
Okay, so apparently Achilles chose Nigeria to beat Argentina in their final Group D match in St. Petersburg on Tuesday. Looks like that didn't really come true. Achilles the cat predicted that Lionel Messi and Argentina will be sent home from the World Cup in their Group D defeat to Nigeria. But it looks like her prediction radars are a little bit off this time around.
Okay, but what makes it interesting is this particular cat is deaf. So she, can't hear you cheering her on to any particular team or whatever, but she obviously chose Nigeria.
And she is actually one of 60 cats who live in the cellar of the Hermitage Museum to protect the building from rats. As you mentioned, it's deaf.
That's right. So very interesting what's happening around the world there. We've given you the latest updates. We hope that you thoroughly enjoyed tuning in to us. We take a quick breather, but when we come back, we get a little bit serious right here in the studios. We're talking about businesses and being an entrepreneur. Do you really need a coach? How do you get, your mindset aligned? How do you look at things from a different perspective? Business is evolving. What are some of the, the cultural points that we really need to look at? How do we change? How do we become better? We're speaking to Marissa Ng. She's a business coach, entrepreneur, speaker, as well as author. We've got a book right here. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned.
Hi there, thanks for being with us right here on BERNAMA today. A very interesting segment today as I speak to Marissa Ng. She is a business coach, entrepreneur, speaker, as well as author of this wonderful book called Great Business, Great Life. Marissa, welcome to the studios. How are you doing?
Very good. Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's a pleasure. We want to talk a little bit about businesses and how businesses start, how businesses grow, and looking at us right here in Asia as well, we are quite culturally dependent on how we run our businesses as well. A lot of times it's about the number crunching and it's about how much volume you can bring in. But like you say in your book as well, all that should change and is changing.
Yeah, it is changing because I think one of the things that we're blessed with as Asians is that we can work hard. We've got those very strong, hard-working values. But sometimes because we're head down and we're working so hard, sometimes we don't see better ways of doing things. And that's why I wrote this book. It's called The Great Business, Great Life, because it talks a lot about great business, yes, but it doesn't just stop there. Great business, great profit, more sales. But it talks about great life because it talks about us designing the life that we want, and then the business helps us to achieve what we want in life.
Okay.
Not the other way around. What a lot of us tend to do is, and I speak for probably a majority size of Asian entrepreneurs, what most of us do is we design the business. We usually have goals, we have visions and mission for our business.
Right.
And then whatever that's left with our life, okay, so I'll make do with the amount of time that I have to go and work out, spend time with my family. Usually people design the objectives from the business first, and then when they can, they design what they want out of their life. Not the other way around, because business is not the end. It's a means to an end.
Right.
And I've met people that I've asked so many times, would you be happy if you just had like $1 million in your bank account?
Yeah.
That's it.
I'd be happy.
Yeah, but if you can't use it.
Right, absolutely. It's not fulfillment, it's not achievement, it's just, like you said, a means to an end.
To an end. And the end is our life, be it social, community, family, love, health. And what I found is like a lot of entrepreneurs are kind of only paying attention to that part when they get that real knock in the head. And we've got this thing where, and I'm not sure if this is just happening on YouTube, and a lot of people are just climbing up this ladder there's this invisible ladder. Okay, if you're self-employed, okay, you're employed, and you go to self-employed, then you go to manager, then you go to. So it's a step, and people think that there's some kind of ladder, and we keep going up that ladder without really realizing what we really want in life. And it's actually okay to be self-employed. I work for myself. That's fine.
Yeah.
And I want to be a $20 million business with 200 employees. That's fine too. But what a lot of people don't realize is I'm getting bigger and bigger. And where does it stop? And so it's important that we design the life and we're going, I'm quite happy where I am.
But how do you do that when you're trying to start a business or grow a business, break into an industry or market, at the same time trying to earn money? Because at the end of the day, that also does account for a big part of being successful in life.
Yeah. And that's absolutely okay, Jessie. You know, what is important is that that's what we want, not what somebody else wants, not what we think the community wants to see us do, not what my business partner wants, what my husband wants, what my wife. And so it's important, and I find a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs tend to forget that why. And we forget that why, and I use the word we. I'm in the same pot. And we tend to forget that why because sometimes there's just there's too much busyness going around, and that busyness doesn't help us stop for a bit, review where we are. And I've got people that just, you know, Marissa, I've just been so busy in the last 20 years, and I've realized that I keep running my business, it keeps getting bigger, but I don't feel happy.
Right.
Have you heard that before?
Yes, I have. I like, you know, you see people who have so-called everything and then yet still feel unfulfilled. They don't feel like they have achieved enough. And so you just get caught in this cycle, in this rut, and you just keep going and going and going. So, you know, on one hand, it's good to be an entrepreneur. It's good to start your own business, have that vision and mission. But on the other hand, you must know why you're doing it. You must feel that you're doing it for a particular reason and that drive. So we look back at Asian culture. Many of our businesses here, even in Malaysia, are started by families, and they become huge. And you know, it's a lot of it based on being hardworking and having family values as well. But how do we make this, or how do we convert that to be more sustainable? Because the older leaders or the older business owners are going to move off, and they have to make way for the young leaders as well.
Yeah, and that's a very very good topic, because you know, in Asia we have a very good statistic of a lot of family businesses, and as we speak, a lot of first generation have passed their businesses on to second, third generations as well. And what we find is that family businesses, as great as they are, and there's a lot of respect for the first generation for starting and for seeing this business, but over time, especially in the last 5 to 10 years, business has changed so much. You know, I speak to a lot of business owners that have been around for a while, and they'll say, you know, Marissa, it's just a lot easier business 50 years ago. Not today, because of just the advent of there's just so many there's so many more competitors. There's digital marketing. There is the World Wide Web. Information is just more available now, so it's not about us knowing more than the other anymore. Everybody knows the same thing.
And it can even come to a point where business doesn't even need a face anymore. You can just do it on an e-commerce platform.
Don't need an office. Just a shared office is even fine. And you're right, just a website. E-commerce is good. So the landscape is changing so much, and yet a lot of the family businesses still get stuck in a certain culture. And that culture, sometimes it's bordering an efficient business and bordering disrespecting my family values. You see, that's the thing with Asian entrepreneurs, is that I want to make changes, but I don't want to disrespect my elders. And that's very important as well, because what we find are that there are a lot of first generation, they're still kind of in the business. And the second generation or the third generation struggle to try and get their changes through. Now, I don't really fault the first generation for still kind of hanging on, because they want to watch their second and third generation kind of catch the ball and run with it. All right, you're kind of going okay. And they want to watch you do that. But how much is too much? that we're not allowing the change and the culture to change.
Right. So I guess another important point is to lead and build this company through the different systems to help grow the people as well. So how do we focus on making and building these leaders? We talk about leaders, future generation. We're talking about, of course, I always talk about Gen Y because they are
Future leaders.
misunderstood, but at the same time, they are what is making the ecosystem so dynamic.
Absolutely, absolutely. When it comes to running an efficient business, and what I talk a lot about in my book as well, is really building the systems and letting people manage the systems. What a lot of entrepreneurs do is they manage the people. So now that is a challenge. Why? Because when we're too hard working in the business and we're doing the business, we're actually running it on a regular basis, we're not giving enough space and empowerment to our people to run the business. Now a very typical story is this. A very typical scenario, and I'll just like to share this with you, and a lot of people will relate to this as well. Okay, I'm a solo entrepreneur and I want to grow my business. Okay, I'm good at sales, I'm good at operations, I'm good at everything.
Yep.
Now I want to hire a salesperson. Okay, so I hire my salesperson and then the lead comes in. Now when the lead comes in, I'll go, I'll make a decision. Do I pass this on to my salesperson because that's what he's hired for, or do I do it myself? But if I do it myself, I get the sale. I do get the sale because I'm really good at what I do, but if I pass it to him, it's always 50-50. So that's always a decision that entrepreneurs are making. And sometimes we make this decision to just, okay, I'll do it myself. And then we start grudging the fact that we hired this person, but we don't really give him enough to try. So what's wrong with that picture? We're overworking and yet there are people in place.
Right.
How do we encourage? What should be the right way of doing it? Is to build the systems. That means while we work inside the business, we build the systems enough so that we can train people to manage the systems and still get the results as consistent as we would an entrepreneur or a business owner doing it himself or herself.
But that also comes to looking at how the organization is structured and looking at how you would your expansion plan as well. Let's talk about change. We know change is never easy. People always resist change. That's the first stop. The first stop is let's resist it. But if we're going to take leadership and we're going to provide the younger ones within that opportunity, that will come with change as well. So it's kind of win-win situation there if you can get the formula right.
I think there were so many books and literature that I've read about change, and but one of the things that truly inspires us today, and I'd say that change always begins with leadership. It begins, and if I had a dime for every time a business owner would come to me and say, "Don't coach me,"
you would be
coach
a billionaire.
I know, I'd be a billionaire. No, I don't need the coaching. It's my staff that needs the coaching.
So here's the sort of miscommunication, or that they have that notion that someone else needs to be coached. Everyone in the ecosystem, in the business, needs to be coached differently, perhaps. All that and more through your book here, Great Business, Great Life. It's also a great hashtag, Great Business, Great Life.
On the t-shirt.
That's right. Do get Marissa on of course on your Facebook, where you can get more information from websites as well, how you can have it all in life. If you want a great business, you can, but you can also have a great life. Well, thank you, Marissa, for being in here and shedding light and some tips, especially
Thank you.
on
Thank you
how
for
we
having
can
me.
be happy overall in life, right? That's right. That's all the time we have right here in the studios. Thank you for being with us. It's been a wonderful hour with you. To keep it locked on to BERNAMA News Channel, where it's all about you. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a great day ahead. Bye-bye.